the practice schedule for the guys, it's been kind of, I guess, grueling. You play 3 games in Milwaukee, come back, and all of a sudden you're headed to the University of Missouri.
Yeah, it was obviously anytime you're playing 3 games in 3 days, there's no practice time up there, and it was a quick turnaround. We played at noon that second day, and really when you look at where we were up until that point, 5-2 heading into those 3 games, we were depleted a little bit from the roster, just getting Dylan Branson back, getting Israel Barnes back. So again, where we were at with the 7-8 guys that we had heading into those early non-con games, I thought we put ourselves in a good position. I really feel if Josh Early, who didn't play in the Milwaukee tournament, if he's there and if we're full strength and we had a full roster, I think our record would be better. But again, I'm pleased with where we were in the non-con with the roster that we did have at the time that we had it.
Boy, I would think that you probably like your chances a lot better against UC Davis, a 2-point loss with Josh Early available.
Yeah, and you see last night, he hasn't played obviously in 4 or 5 games, whatever it was, leading up to yesterday's game, and gets in there and gets 15 points, 4 rebounds. Josh is a very effective low post scorer for us. And again, you're never going to have, even if you look at like Gonzaga and Drew Timme or Purdue and Zach Edey, like the center and the 5 position, that guy's not playing 40 minutes a game anyway. So to just say, hey, Nate Johnson, you got to go out there and do it for 40 minutes, or to say, Josh, you need at least 2-3 guys, kind of have that 2-headed, 3-headed monster, if you will. So having Josh healthy, having Nate, Josh helps Nate, Nate helps Josh, and so you have to have that yin and yang, if you will. And Nate understands things from a defensive perspective. He's a little bit longer at the rim. Josh is explosive. He's got good hands, good feet. So we need both guys. We need all guys. It's fine. It's nice. It just seems every week, every Monday, my phone goes off in the morning, and it just seems like there's another guy that's out for whatever reason. So once we get through the injuries and get through the illnesses and can have a full roster, I feel really, really good about where we can go.
Any text this morning? Is everybody good to go for Wednesday?
No comment.
Okay.
I'm trying to have a good show on the first one, Eric.
So, obviously, you're not into moral victories. I understand that. But, boy, you played well, especially on the offensive end against Missouri yesterday.
Yeah, we did, and I had a bunch of text messages from people that watched the game, and it's about how we play and what we look like. And I thought that we played extremely, extremely hard. Well, I don't think that I know that. I know that we played extremely hard, and it was obviously our guys were going to be up for it. There were no rah-rah speeches before or after. It simply was do your job. And if I think if all of our guys are connected and do their job, we're a tough out. And it doesn't matter if that's Missouri, if that's Missouri State, if that's Missouri S&T. We should be a tough out for all opponents if we do our job and come ready to play, and I thought we did that. And the thing that I liked the most about that game was that we didn't have a great game the game before that. The Milwaukee game was not a great game. We did not play well, but we bounced back.
That was your poorest performance of the year, Milwaukee.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And it wasn't give Milwaukee credit, obviously, but that wasn't us. And give our guys credit for bouncing back and coming and playing like we can play against Mizzou, who's had a great start to their season. And I said it after the game, Eric, but you got to give Mizzou a lot of credit, too, for even taking the game. You look across the country, a lot of the state schools don't play the directional schools, if you will. So I give them a ton of credit for even taking the game and playing us because, again, they're kind of in a no-win situation. Obviously, our kids, myself, we're going to be excited to go in that venue and play that game. And they could have ran from it and said, no, we're not doing that. Why would we do that? We've got nothing to gain from it. So give them credit for playing that game and ultimately give our guys credit for the way that we competed and played and represented our program and our university.
For years and years and years, it has been a huge sticking point in the state of Arkansas that Arkansas won't play Arkansas State in anything.
Right.
And it's been years since Mizzou has played St. Louis University in basketball. Tigers just won't play him. I mean, it doesn't matter if the game is going to be in Columbia or not. So, yeah, that stuff happens.
It does, unfortunately. And, again, that's what we did with our schedule this year. We've talked about it before, and we could have took some other games that could have made things quote unquote easier for us. But I just don't see what benefit that is to our kids and to our program and what we're trying to do. Again, we're not here to get moral victories, but we're also here to challenge ourselves so we can be playing our best basketball come January, February, March. if that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So, of course, win. Right, a lot of coaches aren't driven by win-loss records. Obviously, I'm not driven by that. I'm driven by our kids and how we progress and what we look like and how we play. And I think that this game is going to help us. I said after the game, I think it can push our ceiling higher. And so now you see some potential in yourself and our team that maybe you didn't see before. And, again, it challenges you in different ways, and that's the whole point. If you're going to go throughout a season, it's such a long season, and we've been through injuries and illnesses and guys. So it's continuing to put all of the pieces together to have a game like that on your schedule, to play the way that we did, to get down 18, to fight back. I think it's going to pay dividends for us towards the end of the year, and that is the whole point of those games.
So Kobe Brown had a monster game for Mizzou. He is their lone preseason all-conference player. But in just watching that game, Philip Russell was the best player on the floor. I thought that's as good as I've seen Philip Russell play. And I'm taking into account his 35-point game at SIU Edwardsville.
Yeah, I texted him after the game, and I told him exactly that. I thought that's the best game he's played in a SEMO jersey. And it was – he took great shots. He shot at an efficient percentage. He took efficient shots. He got others involved. He had 7 assists. He played. It was very apparent if you watched the game. It was like, that's a guy. And that's what he has that ability, and he always has had that ability. And if we can get that kind of Phil Russell, we're going to be very, very dangerous.
And with Russell, he's certainly energetic. I know he got a technical foul in the Milwaukee game, but he didn't appear to be on the edge of getting a technical foul yesterday.
No, and that's the beautiful thing about Phil. Phil plays with a ton of energy, and he's hyper competitive. He spends a ton of energy. And the thing I love about Phil, I'm sure I drive him crazy at times, and there's times I'm trying to reel him back in. The thing I love about Phil, though, is today at 3:30 when we have practice, I'm not going to have to wonder if Phil Russell's going to play hard in practice today. Like, he's going to compete and play hard in practice. So I'd rather try to dial a guy back than try to amp him up. And Phil plays with a heart and a passion that you love. And now it's trying to find a way to always use that heart and passion for the good, not necessarily what can hurt you. And it's a fine line. We've talked about all year long about our team. We're a super competitive group, and we want to get to the edge, but we can't go over the edge. And so it's finding that balance. And I thought he had a perfect balance last night, and it showed in his play.
When they changed the flopping rule, it's one free throw for the other team. It's a technical foul, so a flop. Did you think about Phil Russell when the spotlight all of a sudden went on to the flopping rule? Because sometimes he'll, over-exaggerate if he thinks he's fouled, and sometimes officials, if you get a reputation, officials are looking for that kind of thing.
Yeah, we actually, as soon as they came out, because we have to watch a rules video every year, that the rules official or NCAA or whomever organization, they send it. So we have to watch it. And as soon as that was the point of emphasis, they always have about 3 or 4 topics that they're really going to try to drive home early in the season. And that was obviously the very first one, and the rule change with the technical. We addressed it with our team right away. Because again, to me, it's a very unfortunate rule. I understand what they're trying to do, but it makes it almost impossible for the official. What I don't like about it is if you hit a big play or a big shot, and let's say it's a 3-pointer and you fall down, they call a flop, and it's a tight game. Now you just gave the other team a point, and now they're up 1 on a judgment call, and it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't be that way. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't think that you can reward, because sometimes guys get hit and they fall down, and it's basketball. It's a contact sport. It doesn't mean that the kid was flopping or not. Who's to say if I hit you and you fall down and I fouled you, but they don't call a foul, that doesn't mean that you flop. That means I fouled you and they just didn't call it. Sometimes a block charge, it could be a block, it could be a charge, but it doesn't mean that it's a flop. And so to make officials have to make those split-second decisions on that, because sometimes they're blocked. They can't see exactly what happened. And so now to award a team a point, which can really have an impact and an influence on a game, obviously, I don't like it at all from that standpoint, Eric.
And with officials unable sometimes to see the play, I thought there was a play yesterday. Mizzou grabs a rebound. You get 3 guys around him. Israel Barnes reaches into tie up the guy, and the official behind Israel, there's no way he could see his hands. No possible way, because Israel's body was there. You get that foul call. So last year, a flop would result in a warning before they called the penalty, and then they took away the warning. Were you in favor of staying with the warning, or do you like – it doesn't sound like you like it at all.
I don't like it at all because, one, I mean, not to make light of anything, but these guys go through training. These referees go through training. They should be able to have a judgment, a baseline of what they were seeing and make a real call. And then I guess I'm somewhat old school too. If a kid wants to act like he got fouled and laid on the ground, let him lay there and let's go play 5-on-4. Like, I don't know why do we have to stop the game for someone that wanted to fall down? You know, and so I just think you're bringing in too many factors that they can't control. And again, it's human error, it's human element. A bad foul call, okay, well, that's a bad foul call. But if you make a judgment call on a flop or not a flop, but the other team automatically gets to get a free throw, to me, you're bringing in too many variables that can cause the outcome of the game when the players should be the ones deciding the outcome of a game.
Speaking of getting a free throw, you didn't get one free throw in the first half of the basketball game, and I asked you after the game, can you remember any game that you have coached at SEMO where you didn't even get one free throw attempt in a half?
No, I don't really remember that. That's Israel's fault since he's here, and he'll be coming up and talking. You can ask him why he didn't.
He shot the first free throw in the second half, though.
Did he make any of them though? I don't know if he even made any of them. But he can.
He was 4 for 7 from the line.
Yeah, no, he's. I haven't been a part of that. And again, I thought we were getting good looks. We got good looks early in the possessions. I thought we had a great first half. And if we really, as we said afterwards, Eric, if we would have closed the first half, we were up 1. I think it was with 3:13, 3:36, something like that to go in the first half, and then they went on an 11-0 run, and we're down 10 at half. So in that little stretch there, if we could have close the half the right, who knows what that looks like in the second half.
Is that kind of a helpless feeling as a coach when a team is going on a run like that? I mean, you can call time, you can try to make some adjustments. They are so active defensively. Doesn't mean they're a good defensive team, but they get a lot of steals. Yeah. And if you go and just look at stats around college basketball, the team with the most steals doesn't always have a good defensive team.
Right.
Tennessee State has been guilty of that some years where they lead the league in steals, but, they're giving up 46%, field goal percentage. But this was almost the 6th game Missouri. They had 5 games where they had 15 or more steals. They had 14 in the game. They are very, very active on defense.
They are, and it's their style of how they're playing and creating tempo. They don't have a true, what you would think in the SEC as a big man. They don't have a true big man in the middle. They have a guy from Northern Iowa, Noah Carter, who is not a back to the basket type of guy. He shoots threes. So they're a little bit unconventional, small ball, very, very fast in transition, though. They are very fast in transition. And our turnovers were live ball turnovers to where we couldn't even get our defense set. And so now they're getting easy points. But that's their style. That's how they're playing. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out through the course of the season for them. But for us, it was hard for us to keep up, put so much pressure on our transition defense for 40 minutes. That's a unique style because you don't see teams push it as much the way that they do, and they shot the ball really well.
So 18 turnovers. I know you'd like that number to be lower, but what's unbelievable is they scored 29 points off of those 18 turnovers. That just shows they had 31 fast break points. I mean, they want to make it a track meet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if they get into a slowed down half court style, which they got into with Wichita, that was the game before ours was a low scoring game, 55, something like that. So that was a low scoring game. But if we could have slowed it down or had a little bit, we could have had not as many of those, like I said, the live ball turnovers to where we couldn't even get our defense set. We could have stole some possessions that way. And you don't have to play perfect in those games by any stretch, but you can't have 18, 19 turnovers and think that you're going to win, especially a team that's going to play with that kind of pace and score that many points. So you're going to run out of possessions. So we have to do a better job of taking care of the basketball on the road in general. And when we do, and now that we've seen the ball go in a little bit, as you mentioned, Israel coming with 2 20-point games. Phil had not had great percentages per se leading up to that game, but he's gotten good shots and good looks. And so I feel good about where we're at offensively with our guys, and I think sometimes you need a game like that to see the ball go in consistently from everybody. I think for the most part we shot it well. We didn't shoot it particularly well from the free throw line, but now I'm not as worried about our offense that maybe I would have been a week ago, because I think one game can kind of do that and hit on all cylinders. But again, their style makes you play that way. But again, I thought we played the right way because we were able to get paint touches, kick out threes, driving lanes, high ball screen. We got good shots, and they were open shots. They weren't forced shots. So feel good about that as we move on to Wednesday, which is going to be a huge game for us.
Boy, I don't know how many more games you'll have this year where it's 13 for 26 from three-point range. You were really hitting your three-point shots yesterday.
Yeah, and I think we can. Percentage-wise, I know statistics, they weren't where we wanted them to be. Obviously, we talked about Phil, but Kobe Clark has shot the ball well from the perimeter. Getting Dylan Branson back, getting Israel back, that's obviously going to help on the perimeter. So I wasn't as worried about it. I was starting to get a little bit concerned because if this continues on that way. But our defense obviously was much better. Now, we gave up a lot of points to Mizzou, but heading into the Milwaukee tournament, we were third in the country from three-point field goal percentage defense. We came out of Milwaukee. We were still top 20 three-point field goal percentage defense. So we were a little bit of a flip from where we were a year ago. And I think that you look at roster, and we've talked at length about portal and all that type of stuff. A year ago that fit our style a little bit more based upon the personnel that we had. We were a little bit more of the spread you out, shoot a lot of threes, but we also led the league in free throws. So we weren't a live by, die by the three type of a team. So as the season goes, you're constantly, consistently becoming who you are. Our defense is ahead of our offense at this point. But now I think our offense is starting to catch up and starting to understand a little bit more within our offense where guys can get shots. And, again, you've had guys out, like a guy getting back-to-back 20-point games like Israel, losing that, interjecting that back in, not having Josh Hurley, interjecting Josh Hurley back in. So there's been a whole lot of plugging, and so we're still continuing to go where ultimately I think we can go, but it is a ever-changing, evolving thing offensively for us, and I feel we're finally starting to hit our stride a little bit with that.
So do you think Israel is going to be a scorer for you? He was good enough to start as a freshman at Weber.
Yeah.
I think he had 12 double-figure scoring games in 2 years there. His high was 15 at Weber. He averaged 19 last year at Newman, and here he is, back-to-back 20-point games.
Yeah, absolutely he can, and that's obviously what he did at Newman. And the thing that's different for Israel is obviously at Newman they ran a lot of plays for him. A lot of the plays were for him, and everything ran through him. Here, that's not quite as much the case. You can't just run everything through one guy at our level in this conference and at Mizzou and other games like that. So everything's not going to be just ran through Israel, and that's not the way that we try to play. Obviously, we're a guard-oriented team, but as long as you're making the right plays, and the right play is Phil getting the ball in transition, and Israel runs the wing in transition, catch and shoot three. That's we don't have to draw up a play for that. Israel can do that. I like that he's able to put his head down, 2 dribbles, 2 feet in the paint, and score around the rim. You have to have guards that can score in the lane for you. And so he does that, and it doesn't – everyone helps everybody. Josh Early helps Israel Barnes. Josh Early helps Phil Russell. Phil Russell helps Israel. Israel's making shots from the outside. That helps Phil Russell because now there's open lanes and avenues. Chris Harris is a great passer. Kobe Clark's a great offensive rebounder. So every part works together, and we have to have Israel do that. It doesn't mean he only, plays offense because he's got a strong build and a strong body, and he gives great effort on defense, and he can rebound from that guard position. So I think what he has shown us in these last 2 games is exactly what we thought we were getting, and especially because he played the exhibition season that way as well until he got injured. So I fully expect him to continue on and play that way. Now, is he going to get 20 points a game every game? I don't know. I hope so. That'd be great. But I think the way that he has played is what he can do for us.
How has his leg responded? I mean, he's played now, I think, 3 consecutive games.
Did you play the first game in Milwaukee? 4. Now.
Okay, so four games in a row. Yeah. So the leg looks to be okay.
Yeah, and obviously he can talk how that feels. He's now approaching the age to where, if you're doing a pain scale 1 to 10 and You're just getting to the point where you wake up as a 2 every day, no matter what, buddy, for the rest of your life. So we all wake up as 5s and 6s as we get a little bit older. So I think it's just now managing that. I think he's in a good spot. Structurally, everything was good. You can't predict everything, and the way that Israel plays, he's always going to be body banging. There's always going to be bumps and bruises. But I feel that he feels, obviously, he's in a really, really good spot physically.
How about Josh Early? He hadn't had any practice time. He had missed time with the leg. Has a big game against Mizzou. Did he feel good today?
Yeah, he felt good. Josh is always the weirdest thing with Josh has been he's been a lot of his injuries that he's had to this point, and what's caused him to miss games has been non-contact stuff. So it's been really weird. I haven't seen a lot of it in my career. Again, if Josh Early is healthy and he can do that. I think the main thing too with Josh, the thing that gives you a lot of hope and excitement is that he hasn't really practiced consistently. And if he can ever string together 2 weeks of practice, what can he really look like on the court from a conditioning standpoint, from a finishing standpoint? Because when you don't, or you practice a little bit here or there, practice a little bit here or here to test it out to see if you can play, and then you jump into a game. Well, that's obviously a different level of competition. And so now if you're just constantly starting and stopping, it's going to take its toll at some point. You're not going to play at your optimal level. So if we can get him consistently through a couple practices here, a couple weeks of practice, I think he can even go to another level for us just from a conditioning and a feel and a game prep standpoint.
How about rebounding the basketball? Because you got beat pretty good on the glass against Milwaukee, but you win the rebounding battle by 1 over Missouri.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about that, you've got to talk about Josh Early and you've got to talk about Kobe Clark. Kobe Clark has been amazing for us, really. Defensive intensity.
Number 1 offensive rebounder in the OVC.
Yeah, and I think he's going to stay there. Just the way that he plays, the motor in which he plays with. He enjoys that. He enjoys defense. From the summertime, I've been challenging him and Israel and Phil. It was like, which one of you 3 wants to be Defensive Player of the Year? And Israel got injured there for a long stretch, but Israel's going to be getting a lot of the other team's best wing defender to start games out with. Kobe can switch. We switch 1 through 4 with Kobe, and so he's able to guard anybody from 1 through 5. And so I really like Kobe. I love what he brings, his intensity, all the intangible things. I'm trying to think of what game that was specifically, but he got an offensive rebound and a kick-out 3 to Phil. He got another offensive rebound, and we made another pass, and another guy got a 3. He steals so many other possessions for you, and I've seen his offensive game really kind of have a little uptick here in the last month or so. So him continuing to work on his game and giving us that more of a power forward feel offensively, kind of an old school kind of guy. And he shot the ball. I think he was 2 for 4 last night from 3. So he has shot the ball fairly well for us. But man, his rebounding he is tenacious on the glass.
Chris Harris had a tough game against Milwaukee. I think he was 1 for 11 shooting. Bounced back a little bit last night. Didn't get to double figures, but still had 8 points, and he had a couple of threes.
Yeah, Chris is, when you become a senior, you want everything to go perfect, and you want everything to be right, and you want to play so well, and you want to be the reason why your team wins. And I think Chris has put a little pressure on himself when things haven't gone well or the statistics don't show that you're playing well. We came back from Milwaukee, and we gave him 2 days off after Milwaukee. Just, again, long trip, 3 games, 3 days, all that type of stuff. And he was in the gym the very next day. He was in the gym again the day after that. So he's trying to put in the work and see success. He wants success. But, again, you can't force it. And it's a hard thing as a senior because you know the light. You see it at the end of the tunnel, and it's just like you want to do so well. I think sometimes you stress and you overdo it. And I think he's in a little bit of that. And so we just got to get him back in the right mind space. He's worked extremely, extremely hard to put himself in a position, with Coach Strom, our strength coach over the summer, strength and conditioning wise. So, we just got to get him back going because if you've got you got Phil Russell playing the way he is, you got Israel Barnes giving what you got, Chris Harris, who was an all-league guy 2 years ago. I mean, you're hard to guard on the perimeter, and it's a guards game, and now you throw in the Kobe Clarks of the world that does a lot of intangibles, and Josh Early on the low block, and Nate Johnson. I mean, you've got a very, very formidable 5-6 guys that can really cause some problems.
I can't remember Chris Harris hit a buzzer beater a couple of years ago. I can't remember if it was against Fort Wayne. Okay, so that's the team that's coming in here on Wednesday. So he's got a little history with the Mastodons.
He does. Hopefully we don't need a buzzer beater. We can maybe take care of business on the front end of that. But Chris has made a bunch of shots. He hit a game winner for us down in San Antonio against Incarnate Word. He got fouled at the end of the UC Davis game with 3 free throws to tie it to send it into overtime. So Chris has been a closer for this program. And again, we've talked at length, or at least I have. He's got his undergrad. He's going to get out here with his graduate degree. So we talked a lot about it last year, Eric, just with Manny Patterson. You know, as a senior, you put stress on yourself. You want to do so well. And then all of a sudden, the last month and a half of the season, Manny was unbelievable for us. And so Chris has just got to get to that point, I think, too. It's just sometimes you just got to get out of your own way and just throw all caution to the wind and just go play.
Do you work on missing a free throw on purpose? The spot that you were in with Chris Harris where he missed the first, made the second, you're down 2, so you need to miss and try to get an offensive rebound and a bucket. Do you work on that in practice?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we have. We worked on it twice live, and we've talked about it in shoot-arounds and stuff like that. So, yeah, we've worked on that. Actually, we put Adam in at that moment after when Chris missed the first, because now obviously you're going to need another possession. You need a 3. So putting Adam in, and we might have put Nate Johnson in, and we call it cross. And, yeah, I think everybody has that. We do work on that, and actually – what I try to tell them is typically you line up on that nail hole right in the middle of the free throw line. You just take one step to the left. And so now you're hitting the left side of the rim, so the ball bounces to the right side, and then now you're working on the tap back that way. So, yeah, we've worked on that a couple of times up to this point.
And, I mean, I think fans would be probably a little surprised at all of the game situations that you do work on in practice just in case they come up.
Yeah, and we should probably do more. I should probably do more. But we do have we have our special situations in place: full court, BOB, side OB. We've talked about it at length. Up 3 if you're going to foul. So
what's your you
be up 4.
May have had a different philosophy.
That's my philosophy. Be up 4.
As an assistant coach, do you have to get a feel for the game, knowing the personnel, kind of seeing who's going to be out there for a final play? Has your thought process changed on it from being an assistant to being a head coach? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very interesting because we never were a foul up 3 team with Coach Weber, and even when I was a player, we never were really a foul. We were just relied because we practiced so much on our defense that we were going to trust our defense to get that stop. Bill Self at Kansas does not foul up 3. He relies on his defense. So I was with Paul Lusk at Missouri State. He got beat the year before I went there by Evansville on a 3. They hit a 3, sent it to overtime. They lost in overtime. So from that moment on, he was like, I'm always going to foul up 3.
You lost on a 3 by Evansville that went into overtime.
Yeah, and Lipscomb, I go back to Lipscomb in the first COVID year. We didn't foul. So I think every situation is a little bit different. If I could do it all over again, we would have practiced in that COVID year more. So the Lipscomb one, it was 12 seconds left. They ran a play. The play was broken. Now it got under 4 seconds. That would have been a great opportunity to foul under 4. And we didn't really practice that particular scenario. And again, you're talking the ball was just barely out of Jake Wolf's hands, who's now at Moorhead. So I thought we played it well to that point. But again, you go into overtime and lose, and you're kicking yourself. I think at the time it was still the right decision. But again, if we could go back, we've practiced it both ways. Hey, we're not going to foul. And again, it kind of depends on team. If you're playing like a Belmont team, for instance, you probably are going to want to foul. So because they're a good 3-point shooting team and they run some actions and misdirections to where you could fall asleep and they could get open. And so now if you're playing a team that's not particularly a good 3-point shooting team, then maybe you rely on your defense a little bit more. I think it also depends what your roster is. Are you a good free throw shooting team? If you're not a good free throw shooting team and if you foul too soon, now they foul you and you miss, now they've got the advantage, only down 1 depending upon how much time is left. And another crazy scenario that came up a year ago, or actually in the COVID year, Tennessee Tech at home, we fouled. We were up 3, we fouled. We were still in the bonus. We weren't in the double bonus. And so now do you want to foul knowing that the other team is going to foul you back and you don't get 2 shots? And because now if you miss the front end of a 1-and-1, you just gave the
Right.
So there's a whole lot of factors that go into it, and I think that's why you see a lot of people say, you know what, we're going to rely on our defense and what we've practiced for 40 practices, and we're going to defend it this way. But again, that was a really long segment of a whole lot of scenarios and situations, but those are kind of all the things going on in your mind.
But
as the
I think
games
fans
go.
want to hear that because they know that you have thought out all kinds of different scenarios, and you guys work on it.
Yeah, and sometimes you overthink it. At the end of the day, get a stop. And I think you see a lot of guys go with that method too. And nowadays too, you see a little bit more of going small and switching 5 ways. And so now that kind of eliminates some of the confusion that you might have. And we've done that from time to time too. So I think every game is a little bit different. Every scenario is a little bit different. We've had a couple situations this year where we've talked about fouling or not fouling, and we've played it out. So again, I think it's a situational thing and an opponent-based thing.
So when you've got some time off, and you do get some time off during the basketball season, how often are you hitting ESPN Plus and watching college hoops?
We watch it all the time in season, but when it's out of season, especially depending how your season ends, you may or may not watch it. I will watch the OVC. Obviously, I have a lot of friends in the business, so if they're in postseason, I'll watch a little bit of it. But again, once it's over, I don't touch it much, to be quite honest with you. You try to have a little bit of a balance and try not to drive yourself crazy. I like a 45-minute by the time I drop my girls off at school and get to work. So the wheels are always spinning anyway.
Right.
So you try to just put it away a little bit, so you can try to be a little bit of a normal human being, or at least I try to be. So I don't do much once the season's over of watching it. More so now with technology, you can go to specifically what you're talking about. So we can go to the Tennessee Tech part where we fouled. It's like, hey, let's watch that last minute and a half and how we ended that, as opposed to just watching like a whole game.
All right, tell us about recruiting Israel Barnes to SEMO. We're going to talk with Israel here in a moment.
Israel is you talk about character, you talk about stability, great young man, man of faith, great family. I tell him all the time, I even told him last night, I wish we had him for 3 more years. I wish he was a freshman. He's just that guy that you love to have in the program. I tell the staff
and for those who don't know, he's a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, and I just tell the staff all the time, it's like, hey, we got to get another Israel. We just everything that he has, the substance, the character, what he stands for, what he stands on, his family, his journey. We've asked before the season with the team, it's like, why did you even come to SEMO? And so for him, it was he felt that it was his time to be here. He has been to Weber, he's been to UTPB, he went to Newman, and so now it was his time to come to SEMO. And so I appreciate everything that he gives, the effort that he gives, who he is as a young man, who he's going to be in the future. He's everything that you want, everything we want this program to be about and to be represented by. So we're just really excited to have him, and like I told him last night, just really hope we get to send him out on top because he deserves it.
All right, Israel Barnes going to join us when we come back. He's from Wichita, Kansas. We'll talk with Israel when we return. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings in Jackson on SEMO ESPN. etc. in Jackson. And our first segment was with Coach Brad Korn, and we'll talk with Coach Korn a little bit later on in the show and get you set for the Wednesday matchup. And that will be a rare non-conference doubleheader at the Show Me Center. The Red Hawk women will play at 5 o'clock against Western Illinois, and then about 7:25-ish, the men will get on the floor, and they will take on the Mastodons from Purdue Fort Wayne. I want to remind you that if you're coming for lunch here at Wings, etc., their lunch specials start at just $9.49. And, of course, they have the high-def televisions with the best sports programming. You've got Monday Night Football tonight. The St. Louis Blues are playing at the New York Rangers, and you can watch that right here at Wings, etc., which you can either dine in, carry out, or now get it delivered through the DoorDash option. And you can check out their entire menu. They have over 70 items on the menu that are not wings. Israel Barnes is here, and he's a fan of the wings. What was your lunch today?
10-piece lime pepper. Shoot, it was good.
And you are a bone-in, right?
Yeah, bone-in always.
That makes you laugh when we're talking about boneless. I know Coach Took, when we've talked to him in the past, he says it's just a nugget, man.
Yeah, I agree with him.
I need a real wing. So you're from Wichita. What's would we say, about 7 or 8 hour drive?
Yeah, about 7, 8, a little ways away. So from Wichita, Kansas, born and raised.
And Newman University, where's that located?
That's in Wichita,
it's
too.
In Wichita.
Yeah, D2 in Wichita.
So how did your recruiting start to go to Weber State? I mean, Ogden, Utah. That's a long way from Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, it's a ways away. Kind of started out, I had an AAU team in Missouri. It's pretty prominent, MoKen, and played on the circuit for a while. And through them, Weber kind of found me and went there for 2 years, had a good time, grown and a whole lot. So, yeah, that was the experience with Weber.
So in 2018, the SEMO football team played at Weber in the playoffs, and it snowed, I think, 3 to 4 inches the night before the game. It's pretty, but it's cold in Ogden, is it not?
Yeah, it gets like that there. It's beautiful down there, though. A lot of mountains, everything like that. But, yeah, wintertime, it's going to be a lot of snow, a lot of white.
So when you were at Weber State, you guys played in a tournament in the Bahamas?
Yes, sir.
And tell us about your big moment against Central Michigan.
Yeah, it was life-changing. Hit a big shot. One of my OGs, pretty much senior, kicked it out to me. Cody John kicked it out to me and just pulled the shot. And by the grace of God, it went in. And it was big for our team, yeah.
Buzzer beater. So
Yes,
what did you think? Was that your first time in the Bahamas or out of the country?
Yeah, first time out of the country, period. Had to get a passport and all that kind of thing. So, but it was a great time, great opportunity to see something new.
You know, what's interesting, it's a lot easier to get out than it is to get back in, right? When you got to go through customs, it takes forever to get back into the U.S.
Yeah, it was a long process. But like I said, like we were there with our brothers, and we enjoyed the whole experience.
So 2 years at Weber State. Tell us about Newman University. It was probably a perfect scenario for your friends and family to come and get to watch you play.
Yeah, it was something I needed to. I had struggled the year before just with injury and everything like that, and I hadn't been around my family for about 2 or 3 years. So they were able to see all the games. I was able to go back home, get home cooking for my moms and everything like that. So, yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm glad I was able to go there.
Boy, if you're 7 to 8 hours away in Wichita, nowadays with ESPN Plus, I mean, they could watch you every single game if they can't be there.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's still a shock to me to just see that all our games are on ESPN like that, just from where I came from. And it's a huge blessing.
So you grew up with 3 sisters. What was that like?
I had 2 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it wrong.
No, it's all good.
2 sisters and a brother. What was that like?
Beautiful. I'm the oldest of the 4. I got two twins, 1 sister and 1 brother, and then a middle sister. And it was great. We were extremely close. So.
And twins, that is unusual.
Yeah, it is boy-girl twins, and they're extremely alike. And extremely talented too. So.
Are you the only athlete in the family?
No, my brother plays. He's a senior this year at Southeast, and the girls, they're kind of into cheerleading and things like that. They're not really athletes like that, but yeah.
So what was it like yesterday to go to the University of Missouri? And you didn't win the game, obviously.
Yeah.
That was first and foremost on your list, but you played really, really well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was a great experience. Bright lights, and our team really needed it to play against a Power 5 team just to see where we match up. And like Coach Corn always says, we want to measure ourselves up with the best and play against the best. So it was a great experience.
All right, 20 points, 2 games in a row. Is this what we're going to expect out of Israel Barnes?
I pray and hope so, but I'm just trying to do my best to help the team win and put us in a good position to win the game. So just going to try my best to do that.
All right, so what's it like playing with Philip Russell?
Great point guard. Extremely competitive, extremely talented. Yeah, extremely confident. He always keeps us laughing. Yeah, Phil's a great guy though, and he wants to win in his heart of hearts. He tries extremely hard and pushes us all in practice. So he's a great point guard to play with.
Who's the most competitive personality on the team?
It's between we're all extremely competitive. But it probably is between Phil and Kobe. They bring it every day and they up our level. So yeah, those two. So.
Did you have any other sports that you played growing up?
No, I played football for about a week and a half, and it just wasn't for me. My mom asked me if I wanted to play and told me how much the pads was going to cost, and I was like, no, I'm good. But, yeah.
Did you think you'd still be playing college basketball when you were 22?
No, I did not. Originally, my plan was to be 2 years and done, like when you're younger and got bright dreams and stuff like that, but it's just my journey and my path, and I'm grateful for it.
So you are an English major. Tell us about that. That is talked to a lot of athletes. I don't see a lot of English majors.
Yes, sir. It's came easy to me ever since I was young, just as basketball is, and it's my second passion pretty much. And after I'm done playing, I want to get into writing scripts for movies and TV.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Have you what have you written thus far?
A couple of different movie scripts that just haven't been public yet because I really haven't had the time to pitch it to anyone. So, yeah.
Can we get a plot?
I don't want anybody stealing anything like that. I don't got nothing CC.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, so that's something. Then I guess you're a movie buff then.
Yes, sir. Love them.
All right.
Yeah, can't get enough.
Give me 3 of your top movies of all time.
There's a movie called Basketball Diaries. It has nothing to do with basketball, but it's a great movie. Movie called Love Jones. It's a black love story. And then third, I'd probably say Like Mike, just because I grew up watching that. Yeah.
All right. You have a good Coach Corn story for us?
I gotta. No, I would just keep it classified. Coach Corn is a great guy though, and I love him and appreciate him just for the opportunity he's blessed me with and all that he's taught me so far. And it's only been a couple of months, but he's taught me a whole lot just as a man so far.
All right, you're 6'4".
Sir.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, very accurate.
Well,
don't look at the hair.
Have you ever played for a head coach who was taller than you?
No, sir. I played for Randy Ray at Weber, and he was extremely short. He always used to joke about that, but nah, no one as tall as Coach Corn and that can shoot like Coach Corn. So.
And he actually recruited 2 guys.
Yeah, I got you.
2 guys who are taller than him, 2 7-footers this year.
Yeah, we got a big team, a lot of size, a lot of talent, a whole lot of talent. And if we can put it together, I promise you we're going to be great.
All right, so you guys still have some non-conference action before you get into OVC play. How excited are you to finally strap it on for Ohio Valley Conference play?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. And the non-con, the games that were scheduled, that Coach Corn scheduled, it was for purpose, just for us to play the best competition, to line up against them, and for us to grow through it. And I think it's just going to make us better and stronger for the conference tournament and conference games. So we'll be prepared.
You know, Coach Korn went to SIU. He does not want to lose to the Salukis.
Yeah, we know what type of game that is, but we're ready to fight. We're fighters. So.
All right. It was fun to see you perform yesterday. Best of luck. Stay healthy. That's the big thing. Stay healthy. Thanks so much for your time, Israel.
God bless. Appreciate you having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Israel Barnes. Coach Korn will rejoin us when we come back, and a chance to talk a little bit about the Mastodons from Purdue-Fort Wayne. They'll be the Red Hawks' opponent on Wednesday night for the doubleheader. Women at 5, men at about 7:25. We'll take a timeout. The Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings Etc. in Jackson. The Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings Etc. in Jackson. And just a programming note, we will be over in the Cape Girardeau location the next 2 weeks talking Red Hawks hoops with Coach Brad Korn, who rejoins us. Boy, good to talk with Israel Barnes. He's a guy that's pretty squared away.
Yeah, he is. He's you always want your guys to go on and be successful in life, and that, hopefully you get him as a freshman and you groom him through and teach him life lessons through basketball. But Israel, like I said before, comes from a great family. He's very grounded. He's going to be successful in life.
So how closely have you been kind of keeping an eye on what's going on in the Ohio Valley Conference?
We check scores every game or every day, especially after we play it, or a big Saturday or Sunday, whenever we know everybody is playing. So we're always keeping tabs on it. Actually, I was talking to Coach Baroni last night via text at Edwardsville. So,
how surprised are you that it's just you and SIU Edwardsville that have above 500 records?
You know what? They had a great MTE. They won 3 games. They've won 6 in a row. But they won 3 straight in their MTE, and you look at Milwaukee, for instance. They were 3-3 heading into that MTE. They win 3 in a row at theirs. So those MTEs can really springboard you, and I think you see that with Edwardsville. And they got a big week coming up. They play Bradley at home this weekend, and then they are at Illinois State, I believe. After that, I think they still have SLU on the schedule. So they've got some good games coming up. But they brought back a lot of their roster. And then obviously getting Rayshawn Taylor, one of the better guards in the conference, back from injury, and they added a nice junior college kid. So I'm not surprised, and actually I think Moorhead probably would have been. They let one slip away at home the other night, and they would be in that same conversation. So again, it's wide open. The league is wide open. Everything is wide open for everybody. And so, again, if we can continue to stay true to who we are and continue to get better and continue to push that ceiling, we have big dreams and goals, and our players do, and that's why they're here. And so we'll continue to try to stay focused on that.
Obviously, from a conference standpoint, nobody wants to lose Murray State and Belmont, but from a head coaching slot, you must look at it like, hey, things open up for other squads to make a run at the OVC championship. It's not just Murray State and Belmont anymore.
Yeah, and I think what it does, obviously as a competitor, you don't want them to leave and you want to beat the best to be the best. So I don't think that you can go into it saying, oh, well, Murray and Belmont are gone, so now that just means you're going to get into the champion. You know what I mean? It doesn't change anything as far as it's still going to be extremely hard to beat Edwardsville. It's going to be really hard to beat UT Martin. I think what it does, though, is it gives you in that conference tournament, the way that it's set up, to allow yourself to be put in a position to be that 1-2 seed, to where now you only have to win 2 games to get to the NCAA tournament, as opposed to you have to run this gauntlet, then face a Belmont or a Murray who historically have been in that championship game because of the way that the conference tournament is set up. So
I think only Austin P has done it. They were an 8 seed and they ran and they won 4 in 4 days.
Yeah, and it's just so obviously I like that they reward the conference schedule by giving yourself that opportunity in the postseason tournament. And so that everything matters. A game in the standings doesn't matter if you win at Lindenwood compared to winning at Murray State. You win a conference game, and obviously the more wins you have, the higher seeds you get. So for me, it doesn't necessarily make it easier. All of a sudden you just get to go to the NCAA tournament, or, we would have had the same approach. We would have had the same goals. We would have played the same way if Belmont and Murray were in the conference. And would have taken more pleasure in getting in those opportunities and chances to beat them. But, again, that's why we played the schedule that we played, to prepare ourselves for the conference schedule and to prepare us for the conference tournament.
What do you know about the Mastodons? They've got a winning record. They have the same record that you do, 5-4.
Coach Kaufman does a great job with that program. I forget exactly how many years he's been there, but he's very established with what they do. The thing that the Horizon League has not been good to us. It's not been good to myself since we've been here. Youngstown, they beat us last year at third place, Milwaukee. So we have not played well against that conference for whatever reasons. I know that they are never out of any game. They were down. It looked like SIU Edwardsville was going to beat them, and they came back and really closed that game strong. So they're not out of any game. They play a unique style. Their guards, they dribble the ball. They're very, very good at penetrate and kick, and they keep their dribble alive, and they get on the baseline. They get to the second side of the floor a lot. So they put a lot of pressure on your defense, a lot of stress on your defense. They play on what most teams do defensively in their practice settings as far as a shell drill. You're just your basic defense. So they put a lot of pressure on that and play on that a lot. They got guys that can shoot the basketball. So it's a big challenge for us. And, again, we have to come with the right mindset. If we can continue to tap into what we are and how we can play, it should be a good, fun, and it's a big game for us. It really is.
And in terms of losses, they have a loss to Southern Miss. I don't know, did you see the way that Southern Miss lost last night?
I just saw the score. It was like a 2-point game.
Yeah, and with Northwestern State, kid from Charleston, Missouri, goes there, DeMarcus Sharp. Yep. He hit a buzzer beater at the end of the first half, and he hits a buzzer beater to end the game.
I saw you had 32.
32 points, yeah. So that was and that was Southern Miss's first loss. But you mentioned what SIU Edwardsville is doing. They started 1-2. They've run 6 in a row. They're 7-2, and one of those losses was to the Mastodons.
Yeah, and like I said, they were in complete control. And we actually talked about at the beginning of the show, their kid, Shamar Wright, I believe, the lefty, he hits a 3 in front of their bench to put him up 4. And he fell down, and they hit him with a flop. And so Fort Wayne came down, made the free throw, and now all of a sudden it's a one-possession game, and they hit it 3. And so now, again, that's – I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's the flop call. And so that's where they were at. So now all of a sudden it becomes a tie game on the road. Anything can happen, and that's where you see the score in the way they did. But they were in control of that game, Edwardsville was, for the majority of the second half there.
All right, keys to getting your 6th win on Wednesday against Purdue-Fort Wayne.
We have to keep them. They thrive on getting paint touches offensively. We've got to do a good job of keeping them out of the paint. Obviously, we have to rebound the ball, transition defense. And then for us, too, just keep getting the offensive paint touches and playing the way that we did the other night. You know, styles make fights, so Missouri had a lot to do with that in the way that they play. But our guys understood and recognized it and went and played basketball. You know, we don't need to come down and call a play every single time down the floor. We need to just flow into just regular basketball, letting your instincts take over and knowing what everybody's doing on the floor about getting paint touches, having correct spacing, and hopefully we can go from the way that we shot the ball against Missouri and bring that confidence into Wednesday.
7:20 on Wednesday night. Following the women's game, the Red Hawk women will host Western Illinois at 5 o'clock. So a doubleheader at the Show Me Center on Wednesday night. Coach, we appreciate the time, as always, and we'll see you over at the Show Me Center.
All right, Eric, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, that's Coach Brad Korn. Our thanks to Israel Barnes as well. And thanks to Rachel Cook and Mike Rennick on site here for River Radio. We'll get you back into regular programming. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. So long from Wings Etc.